So again, power down. We're in top, 4,000 RPM, 60 miles an hour, and then into overdrive, and we're back to just over 3,000 on this wonderfully straight, undulating road. Well, welcome everyone to an episode of A County for Old Cars, and you join me today in Bess, my 1971 Triumph Vitesse Mark II, as we go for a little amble down some of the lesser known but very pretty country lanes around East Suffolk. And the road we're on today is going to loop us around the back of the market town of Framlingham and take us on quite a nice drive to the very pretty village of Debenham. But as you can see, it is a glorious sunny day. It's cold, but not cold enough to prevent me from putting the top down. And as we navigate this sort of undulating road, we're going to enjoy what looks to be an empty route ahead of us. No traffic. Wow. This road can be quite deceptive because during the school run you get a lot of people using this as a shortcut to get into Framlingham, and in case you're wondering exactly where we are, whoops, I will show you in just a second. I'm going to see if this car's going to be sensible enough to let me in, which they are. So it's the 18th of March today. It's a Tuesday morning. And I will just pop out and show you what I can see here, because it's worth having a look at. So this is the Castle Mere, and for any Ed Sheeran fans, this is the castle on the hill. But you can get a sense of the surroundings. This is the lane we've just come down, and what we're looking at behind us is Fram College, which is a very highly regarded East Anglian public school. But so across the water, probably my favourite view of the castle, and then off between the trees, the tower of St Michael's Church just there. Anyway, onwards and upwards, as they say. You can probably see, like so many towns in England, there's been a huge amount of residential development here in the last sort of 5 or 6 years, and the new Labour government that we have in this country has made a keystone of its policies that there should be a lot more house building, particularly in the way of providing affordable family housing. So I think it's fair to assume we're going to see quite a lot more land on the edge of these sort of well-served towns and villages given over for residential development. Now the village that we're coming into in a minute is called Saxtead, and it's a very good example of a village which has what I think in medieval times were called long acres, and by that I mean there was sort of land set aside on the side of a road to allow for drovers, so people driving their cattle, to be able to allow them to graze while they were moving them from place to place. And you can see sort of Saxtead Green, as we have it here, is an example where you've got this sort of long strip of grazing land off to our left, together with a pond, obviously for watering animals, and then the houses are set sort of back behind, and there are a number of villages that you find in Suffolk which have this, but Saxtead's one of the notable ones, and you might just be able to see ahead of us it has a windmill, and typical sort of square mill house which goes with it. Thought I should just do a little bit of a diversion. To show you this. So if you have a chance and you're coming through on the tourist route to Suffolk, come and have a look at Saxtead Post Mill. Just leave that on there for a minute so you can have a look. That absolutely stunning building. And we were talking earlier about the sort of long acres and sort of grazing and common land that exists in these Suffolk villages, but this is quite something. So we're at 4,000 RPM up to 60 and into overdrive, which drops us by, well, just under 1,000 RPM. We're 3,000. I'm just dropping the speed now because we're going to come into a village very shortly, and that village is Earl Soham, which is a very, very pretty Suffolk village. A lot of Georgian Victorian architecture here, but it's a much older settlement than it looks. And as with most of these Suffolk villages, of course, it is built on the banks of a river. So just dropping down a hill out of overdrive. And just a quick double D clutch down into third. On the brakes a little bit. And then gently round this bend. Very pretty thatched houses here, as you can see, with these tall pitch dormer windows. But then on the opposite side, in the yellow brick, you've got examples of Victorian and Edwardian buildings. And the river's just off to our left. We're looking at examples of timber framed buildings with colour wash rendered elevations. Grand farmhouse right ahead of us. And we come round the bend and just cross the river here. Very popular pub, the Victoria. We're just down into second for this corner. And then power on up the hill, up to 4,000. We're just going to off the main road and back into some English countryside. You can see the hedges to my left have been beautifully cut back. When I first arrived in England in the mid-70s with my parents, a lot of the hedges in East Anglian farms had been grubbed out, and there'd been this move towards sort of greater mechanisation, which meant bigger fields. So the old enclosures that has been sort of established in the 18th century were kind of being undone, really, and so hedgerows were being pulled out, ponds were being filled in, ditches covered over. And of course the real price for that was the wildlife, because I tend to think of hedges as a kind of motorway for wildlife, and there's no doubt about it that losing the hedges had a huge environmental impact. Thank you. Had a huge negative environmental impact. But one of the great things about the last 30 years is there's been this sort of move to replant hedges and to again sort of manage woodland in a sustainable way. And again, controversial thing with farming at the moment is the outlawing of pesticides and herbicides, which clearly beneficial to wildlife on one hand, but is making it very difficult for farming to be competitive in this country. You can probably just see we've got these beautiful little primroses emerging on the bank sides here, and this for me represents spring, and yellow being the colour of hope. It sort of portends of better things to come. But the road we're on is following the path of a river, and the river valley, which is just down to our left. But it is really the most beautiful day. I won't lie, I'd rather it was about 10 degrees warmer, but I'll still take this as a win. Dry, clear blue skies, and not a grain of salt on the road to eat away at Bess's chassis. This week, incidentally, is an important week for both my cars because it is MOT week, and yesterday I took Tess, my 1967 2-litre, over to Anglian Triumph Services in Ditchingham for her MOT, and she's getting a sort of general tune-up. The carburetors are in need of balancing and tweaking, and I think David might treat her to some new spark plugs as well. and then when she's finished, Bess will go in, and similar treatment there as well. This car actually has been running beautifully. I mean, it feels as though the carburetors are beautifully balanced. Everything's sort of going wonderfully with her mechanically, but I have noticed a bit of a whiff of petrol about her, and I'm not absolutely sure where that's coming from. There's no sign of any obvious leak, but I am wondering whether there's a bit of weeping going on from the petrol pump itself, which is located down beyond the passenger footwell, and that's where I tend to notice it. Not all the time, and certainly not when we're moving, but usually it's just at the moment when I first stopped. Have a little drive through and see the village. Let me know in the comments what you think about the camera angle, being able to sort of see through the windshield rather than sort of behind me, whether that works for you. So you can see we've got some new architecture here, but this is a really old village. So we're sort of in mid-Suffolk here. But have a look at the church, which has got this very low, squat tower. I mean, it feels more like a fortress than a church. And then these wonderful timber frame colour wash buildings here. Again, we're just climbing the village through, climbing the hill through the middle of the village. And again, being a weekday, obviously more cars around. I've got examples again of these jettied timber frame buildings, which of course would all have been thatched at one time. Wonderful herringbone brickwork on the house that we're just passing now, and then we're sort of dropping down into the village itself. Let the Waitrose van through. And so as you can probably tell, the river is running to our left, and this is the River Deben, the one which flows downstream to Woodbridge and then exits at Bordsey. And again, if you look back in my sort of earlier films, you'll see that I've done films both at Woodbridge and at Bordsey. Very kind. And I think we're going to take Bess for a little swim. Here we go, down into the ford. Thank you. I'm just going to test my brakes. Left foot braking, we're okay. Not surprisingly, that lane is called Water Lane. bit of a village green. You can see just on the left here an example of a new hedge which has been planted, which I'm guessing is probably about 4 years old maybe. Anyway, back on the A1120, we can open up the taps again. Been a lot of fun today. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little outing with Bess and I. Just a chance to get out and enjoy the sunny weather while we've got it. Spring is almost upon us, and hopefully there'll be a lot more to see in some of my future videos. But until then, take care, and I'll see you soon.